The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Saturdays or Sundays, SOR Media, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this broadcast or podcast without the express written consent of SOR Media is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised. Are you experienced? Then come own the night with us.
Little brother has taken control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all
stationed atop the mountains of British Columbia, live from SOR headquarters. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong.
You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, and on Spaced Out Radio on iTunes. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio.
Brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye.
It's Wednesday, September 19th, Thursday, September 30th. Make that 20th if you're on the East Coast or across the pond. And this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night. I am your host, Dave Scott, broadcasting to you live from the Great White North on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We are 150,000 strong nightly on the SOR radio network at Deep Talk Radio, and we say hello to each and every one of you. If you want to take and listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/spaced out radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, shop at our store, read up on the encounter online, and so much more. Don't forget, tickets are on sale for next week's first annual Caribou Paracon, presented by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers, September 28th through 30th. Go to questers.ca. That's questers.ca. Click on the fall conference. Get your tickets right now. Tonight's show is brought to you by the YouTube channel Ensuho. Sebastian Martin brings high-quality messages to the masses. Go to spacedoutradio.com, click on the Ensuho banner, and subscribe to the channel today. Tonight, since it's the third Wednesday of the month, we bring in Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada for Ghosts of the Great White North, where we talk about some of the spooky stories and hauntings that you may not hear about from around Canada, especially if you're one of our plethora of audience members in the United States. So tonight we are joined by Rona Anderson, along with her husband, Ben, who will not be on the radio, but he's part of their Paranormal Explorers team. They've been a paranormal investigation team for 16 plus years. They have attended Edinburgh's Ghost Fest, Halloween in New Orleans, and have traveled to many haunted places across the world. They live in Edmonton, Alberta, where it has a very rich history of hauntings. The Paranormal Explorers have been featured on television shows such as Creepy Canada, CBC's Nerve, and numerous radio, newspaper, and television interviews. Paranormal Rona, as she likes to call herself, is a psychic medium who can communicate with earthbound spirits and remove them from people's homes and businesses if they wish. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, Everett Themer will join us for the latest edition of The Encounter from the SOR Newsroom. We start off with Mr. Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very well, Dave. How are you doing today?
Good. I'm very, very excited to be spending the next couple of weekends with you. You will be down at the Forest Moon Paracon with me for the 3rd year in a row, speaking at Eric Cooper's event in Cedro-Woolley, Washington State. I'm looking forward to that. And then the following week, you will be demonstrating paranormal investigations up here at the 108 Mile Ranch while we are conducting the first annual Caribou Paracon. It's going to be a busy week with little Mikey Morin.
This is very true. A busy couple of weeks coming up, and right from your Paracon next week, I'm in the bush for 4 days hunting, literally leaving from your Paracon.
I know you like the outdoors. What are you going to do, Mike, if you're all of a sudden out there exploring the wilderness and you come across like some Sasquatch prints?
I will take a photo of them and watch for Sasquatch and try and find him for you. Alive. Keep him alive for you.
Well, you better. You better, because I have a feeling, and one of my things with that is I totally believe that there is a real definition between Sasquatch sightings and the smell of gunpowder. I don't think Sasquatch likes the smell of gunpowder too much, and that's why I really do not believe at all that people who carry guns into the field have much success in finding Sasquatch. That's just my theory.
Did I ever tell you my story about my possible, I use the word possible hard here, Sasquatch encounter about 3 years ago when I was hunting? Did I ever tell you that one?
No, fill me in.
You want to have a quick story time right at the top? I can do this. 3 years ago, I was hunting way up a town called Beaverdell, which, if you look at our map, is just right in the middle of the bush. I don't need to get into detail, just Canadian wilderness. And I'm sitting in a giant pile of deadfall, and I have my scope in kind of like a pasture. I'm moose hunting at this time, so I'm in perfect prime moose territory. And I've been hunting for easily over a decade, so I know the sounds of the different animals. I know the sounds of the bush quite well. And all of a sudden I hear grunting, and then trees were, like something grabbed the tree or trees and was moving them back and forth. I'm like, what is that? So I point my scope at where I'm hearing and seeing the trees moving, and I don't quite see anything. It's just past the tree line. And this goes on for about 4 minutes, I would like to think, 4 to 5 minutes. And then I hear almost like a scream, grunting. I'm like, then in my head I'm checking, and I'm like, check, not a grizzly, check, not a black bear, check, not a moose, just going through all the different animals that are up there. And it got closer, and then I heard really like a loud crack of a branch, and then it sounded like the branch was a log. Branch sounds small, so log was hitting the tree really hard over and over and over again. And then when I decided to get up and start to hike back away from this, I was upwind, so it couldn't smell me anyways. It went away basically the second I got up. Creepy and unnerving, because I was
it knew you
about
were
a
there.
5-kilometer hike in by myself, which would be like 2.5 miles.
And looking at your figure, I mean, five miles. I'm surprised you were able to do that on your own.
Kilometers, bro. Kilometers.
Either way,
2.5
kilometers.
miles.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was all flat. Don't worry about it.
Either way, I mean, that's eerie. That is completely eerie.
You're all alone.
My former brother-in-law was hunting north of Prince George, British Columbia, a few years ago and had a similar encounter where there were 4 of them, and they were in some pretty dense bush. They were out hunting for moose, and all 4 of them literally ran out of that forest because, as you were doing, they were going through the checklist of whatever it was that was grunting at them and making noise and following them. And he said it sounded like it was whatever it was circling them in the forest. And they decided to actually end the day like 2 hours into their hunt. They had planned to be out in the bush like 8-10 hours. They ended it 2 hours in because they were so freaked out by whatever it was that was following them. And these were 4 experienced hunters. I mean, you don't go into the bushes of British Columbia or even, into some heavily wooded areas around the world without having some sort of familiarity with what is out there. You know what I'm saying, Mike?
Absolutely, and I can tell you this much. I don't care because it's the past. I had the safety off my gun when that was happening, and if it was going to be me or whatever that was, it was going to be me walking away. I don't get scared being in the bush. I'm there enough. But that had me rattled to where when I was having dinner that night, I kept thinking about it. I even have a clip of it somewhere in my computer because it was on my old phone. Because being a paranormal investigator, I'm like, oh, I gotta record this audio. Maybe I could show it to a Bigfoot guy, or let a Bigfoot guy hear this. But for the life of me, I can't find it.
Weird.
Yeah.
Very, very weird. Well,
Yeah.
At least you know now that you're more into it. In case something does happen, you do know.
I'm ready.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. My friend, we got to introduce Rona Anderson. She is a talented paranormal investigator out of the province of Alberta, way north in Edmonton, the capital of Alberta. Great hockey team. I've been an Oilers fan literally since 1979 when they entered the National Hockey League. And whether or not Rona is an Oilers fan, I'm hoping she is, because that way we can slip in some hockey talk. But I'm going to tell you right now, Rona, we have a bunch of Saskatchewan Rough Rider fans who listen to this show, and we have, including one of them who actually wears a watermelon while at the football stadium. And we have myself, who's a BC Lions fan. So if we're going to be talking Canadian Football League here, we may get into a big debate here.
Well, I gotta give props to the Saskatchewan Rough Rider fans, because they really go all out. I mean, when they come to Edmonton, they really make a show of it, and they really support their team. So,
oh yeah,
I'm not a big sports person, but my husband and my son are. So I hear a lot of football stuff and a lot of football cursing. So yes, I'm well aware of what goes on with the games right now. So, I do not myself watch it. So, I'm not a sports person.
Well, that's too
bad. But, yeah, well, that's okay. We can talk about spooky stuff.
Exactly. That's just as fun anyways. Oh, yeah. And I just want to let everybody know out there, I'm getting a ton of messages right now about our link. For some reason on our website, spacedoutradio.com, our link is still showing last night's show. We are trying to work on it as we go here, so please bear with us as we are trying to figure that part out. I am working on it, but I also have a show to run as well. So just bear with me, everyone. We're going to try and get there. We're going to try and get there on that. So just bear with me. So nonetheless, Rona, bringing you in here is quite intriguing, because you and I had a very, very good conversation beforehand, and I'm very excited to have you on. But let's introduce you to our listeners. You and your husband, Ben, created Paranormal Explorers. Tell us about that. How did you get into the field of paranormal?
Well, The strange thing is, you know how children are supposed to have imaginary friends. So apparently when I was 3 years old, I had what was quote unquote an imaginary friend, and his name was Glick, Glick. And my mother said I used to, talk with Glick and have tea parties with him and the whole bit. And neither one of my parents ever believed in the paranormal. And in the last couple of years of my mother's life, she finally admitted, she says, it wasn't an imaginary friend. You were really talking to a ghost. She says, I know that you are, because, he must have been talking back to you because you were having a conversation, and it wasn't a rambling, incoherent conversation. It was a conversation between a child and an adult, or although she could not hear the adult, of course. So from there, as I started growing up, I was seeing a lot of stuff and relating it to people, and then realizing people weren't seeing what I was seeing and giving me funny looks. And, of course, there was, won't get into it, but there was one person in my family that did have some mental illness. So, for me to be hearing voices and seeing things wasn't, conducive to a parent's well-being, because then, of course, my family thought, uh-oh, got another nutcase. And that's what happens with a lot of children that I come into contact with, is unfortunately they're going through the same thing that I went through, where they're seeing things and hearing things, and things are disturbing them at night, and nobody can really understand what they're really going through, and if they are really seeing something, or if it's supposed to be a mental illness. So anyway, as I was growing up, of course, realized don't talk to people about it, because they don't either want to hear it, number one, or you're freaking them out, number two, or they think you have a mental illness. So I didn't really talk a lot about some of the stuff that I saw, but I know when I was, how old was I? I was 10 or 11, and I had a friend, and her mother had died, and it was very sad, because, she had a whole bunch of sisters, and we were neighbors, and the one day I was playing in her backyard, and I looked up, and, because should have kept my mouth shut, but I said, "Oh, your mom's at the window," out at us. And her mother was, at the window where she would usually do the dishes. And, she was just looking out on myself and this young girl, because she used to do the dishes there and watch her kids play, right? And I shouldn't have said that, because, that kind of frosted my relationship with my next door neighbor, and it never was the same after that. So this kind of just went on and on. And then when I was about 17, I saw, I woke up in the middle of the night, and I saw this, for me at the time, was terrifying, 7 foot, 6.5, 7 foot tall guy, all in black with a hat on. And there's a lot of talk and stories on the web with this hat man thing, but it's not one particular person. It's just a spirit that's in that formation, and the reason why they're visiting you could be any number of reasons, but for some reason this guy was in the corner of my room, and it just freaked me out. And the only thing I could do is close my eyes and just say, you need to leave. And then I opened up my eyes, and he'd left. So after that, I kind of tried to shut down my communication with the spirit world, which, for some people it's hard to do. And it was difficult for me to do at that time. I was living in my grandparents' house when I was 17, and we'd had some family upheavals, and so it was just myself my mother and my sister and my grandparents, and my mother and my sister and I had moved from, this was in Ontario, to clarify it. We were living in Ontario at the time, in Barrie, Ontario, and we were living in my grandparents' house, and we had moved out from a house that we'd lived in with my father, so my parents separated. And down in the basement, we had this room we called the cold room, and it didn't matter what time of year it was. It didn't matter how much heat got pumped down the stairs. This room would never warm up. And the room would give off this creepy vibe. Of course, I was the only one that picked up the creepy vibe. No one else seemed to be creeped out by it. When I went into the room, there was a box, and in the box was framed pictures of this couple. And I remember looking at this man and this woman thinking, who is this? Because I've never seen the photos on the wall or in any of the photo albums. And I remember taking it upstairs, and I got told it was my aunt and uncle who had died in a car crash, and something was telling me that there's something off with that. And just right after that happened, next thing you know, I would wake up almost every night at 3 a.m, and I would hear the footsteps of a woman coming down the hallway with almost like you could hear a dressing gown on, dragging on the floor. And I would sort of be frozen, and then next thing you know, I would jump out and rip the door open and nothing would be there. And then at other times there'd be something in the basement, and I never knew what it was, and it was very, very negative. And after a while, I came to realize that it was the couple who was in the framed photograph, and found out that it was my uncle Graham, who had he was the one with the mental illness, and he had unfortunately snapped one day and killed my aunt, and then shot himself. And of course, I guess to protect myself and my sister, we were told, oh, they died in a car accident. And when I finally found out how they died, I thought, that makes sense. Okay, so they're not trying to scare me. They're trying to say, hey, we exist and we want to be remembered, even though it was an awful circumstance. And so this is what I found in all of my investigations and spirit encounters, is these are spirits where a lot of times people have them in their house. They're full of fear, and then when I go in and I find out who the spirits are, and I am able to ascertain why they're there, what they're doing there, who they are, and then I, quote unquote, send them into the light, and they permanently go out from the people's homes, and I tell the people why the spirits are there. All of a sudden, it's not a fearful thing anymore. It's because the spirits either want something from you, or they want you to know that they exist, or they had existed in a form that you are in right now, and just want to be remembered. So a lot of, I would say, almost 99% of the homes that I've been in, it's never been anything totally, I guess, exorcism scary. There's always a reason behind why the spirits are there, always. So, and then as I got older, we had moved to Edmonton, Alberta, here in the frozen north, which is quite appropriate because this is what the show is, and I am living in the north of Canada. And I met my husband, Ben, and found out that he had paranormal episodes himself. And just things, we just met up with some people and did casual ghost hunting. But then Ben and I realized that we were in it not just for the interest of it, but also to help people, and not because of all these ghost hunting shows that were on that show sometimes stupid and ridiculous stuff. And I mean, I have no fear of the paranormal now. I know when I was a child I did, but I mean, to see a grown man on some of these reality shows saying, come at me, bro, come and touch me. And then he gets touched and screams and runs down the hall. You're going, what the hell are you doing making shows like this when you can't even be in a hallway with a spirit? Like,
we've had that debate many a times on this show.
Oh my God.
Many a times.
It just makes me laugh because half the time they don't even know what they're running from. And that's the whole thing is, I think that's what makes, I'm going to toot my own horn here, that's what makes me so unusual and almost probably one of the few in Canada that I'm not only a paranormal investigator and psychic medium, but I can walk into your house and in 2 seconds I will tell you if you have a spirit or not, or if you have 5 spirits. And if you give me a couple more minutes, I'll tell you who they are and why they're there. And then I will get rid of them for you. And I get rid of them whether you want me to or not, because these spirits are not supposed to be here. So to explain to people who are listening, earthbound spirits, it's not like Long Island medium who is talking to Grandma and Grandpa and friendly Uncle Ernie. These are spirits that have no relationship to you whatsoever in your family sense. They were never friends with you. They never grew up beside you. They don't know you from Adam. They died of whatever circumstances, but they have never crossed over and become one with the light or whatever you want to call. I don't get into religion, but whatever you want to call the other side, as people say. So if they're stuck here, what happens is all the, not really positive, but the negative qualities that they had when they were alive is still with them and is still fluid. So I have had cases where I've had child molesters, I've had domestic abusers, I've had rapists, I've had murderers, mercenaries, revolutionists from Paris from the 1700s, all kinds, like lots of different weird.
Let me ask you this, if you don't mind, Rona, because I mean your story is just phenomenal. I mean, this is something that you have been delving with through your entire life. At what point did you decide that you and your husband Ben needed to start investigating and helping people?
You know what happened was, I can't remember what exact investigation we were at, but I remember looking at him and saying, "Oh, all right, we just, these people have 1, 2, 3. I didn't know how many spirits they had in their house. We just told them their house is haunted, and now we're going to turn around and leave them there with these spirits. Like how fair is that? Like that's not fair. And a lot of investigators do that. They go in with all their equipment, which we used to use. I don't need the equipment to tell you what's there. And, they've got the beeping and booping this thing said a word and, oh yeah, I think that you have this kind of spirit in your house, or I think you have that. They don't know. They're looking at their equipment. They don't know what these people actually have in their house. They don't know why the spirits are in their house. And they don't know what these people are actually experiencing every night. I mean, so we had one woman, she was sleeping in her truck in the middle of winter because she was too scared to be in her house. So do you just leave these people with this and say, yeah, your house is haunted, have a good life? I mean, you have to help them. And I know I wrote an article on our website about that, how there's just way too many groups out there that are watching TV They want to buy all this equipment. They want to march into someone's house and take over their house and say, "Oh yeah, I think you've got, a spirit in here, and I think it's a male, and I think it's, it could be really violent. We're going to go home now." So, I kind of sort of did a soul search and thought, if I can see and talk to these spirits, then there's got to be a way that I can get them to leave. And I actually had that gift handed to me one night. It's kind of a tragic thing that happened, but I was doing a ghost tour for a man who had a pub tour company here in Edmonton, and he also owned a pub that was haunted. And so we used to do adult pub tours and then bring people back. And there was a male spirit we called Dapper Dan, and two female spirits that were sort of less, I call lesser spirits. There's usually a dominant spirit, and if there's more spirits in a place, they're usually submissive or lesser spirits, because the dominant one usually takes control of most of the activity, and the other ones seem to be trapped with them for some reason. And so in this pub, this Dapper Dan, he would do all kinds of stuff to the waitresses and the waiters and the bartenders and people that would open and close. And so we would do the tour and bring people in, and then we take them into the stairwell, and the stairwell went up to the roof of this building. Now, this building was built around the turn of the century, and it used to be a carriage house where they would build horse and buggies. And now, when I first went in this building, I knew that I saw this guy with a very, very well-dressed man, mustache, had a hat, it was probably early 1900s. He was dressed like late 1800s, early 1900s. But in the stairwell, there was something there that wasn't quite human, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And when I went up to the roof, there's a doorway when you go up the stairwell and you get onto the roof. And as soon as I got up on the roof, the image of these, like chicken or bird coops, animal cages came up, and I saw that at one point during this building's life, somebody either lived there or visited there and took a baseball bat and just bashed the heck out of these animals and slaughtered them. And what happened was, when this person eventually died, he had nothing to do with Dapper Dan and the two women, just as a side note. When this person finally died, these animals attached themselves to him. So he became what I call a fractured spirit. And a fractured spirit isn't a whole spirit. It's a spirit that is, when you see it, it doesn't look human. It's got things attached to it, almost like a pig pen on Charlie Brown, with all the crap that came off of him, all the dirt and things in the air and all that. And that's what fractured spirits are. Well, there was a thing in the staircase. And so when we bring people into the pub, we get them to go on the staircase, and I would say, whoever is here, could you, give these people an idea of who you are, and, pull their hair and do this and that. And of course things would happen, and people would scream and that. And as the tours would go on, I would think, this isn't right. I'm using whatever spirits are in here as circus animals, and I'm disrespecting these people, no matter how awful they were in their lifetime. I have no right to do this. So this guy was going to sell his pub, and he was going to go move down to Vegas, and he was going to have one last tour, and he decided to do it, why I don't know, but with some group home kids. So he had these kids, and he had them on a bus, and he took them to the pub, and it was, in the morning, so it wasn't like the pub was active, so they could come in. And as soon as we entered into it, there was a 15-year-old boy, and he turned to me and he says, I got to tell you, I see these spirits. And I said, oh. I said, can you tell me what you see? So he told me exactly what I would see, what I saw. Like, I didn't give him any hints. I didn't, describe them. He described them to a T, so I knew that he saw them. And he said, you know what, they're very sad and they don't want to be here anymore. And I felt instant guilt because of what I'd been doing, and I'd been using them. And of course, I felt awful. So anyway, this young man said to me, you're the only one I know that can see these things. Would you mind if I could I have your phone number? Could I talk to you? So I gave him my phone number, and we had like a talk on the phone for about 2 hours. And this young boy lived in a group home. And he said, the night that I was, or the day that I was in there and I left to go back to the group home, he said that night I had a dream, and they came to me in my dream and they said, please help us cross over. Please do something. And he said, I keep seeing them all the time now. I don't know what to do. Can we go back to the pub, and can you help me try and help these spirits? And I thought, well, I've never done this before. So I contacted the owner of the pub and I said, can we get in there and do it? And he says, yeah, sure. Let me set up a date for you. The next night, I was in the kitchen doing something, and the news was on, and I had this incredible, horrifying feeling overcome me. I knew something had happened to this kid. Don't tell me how I knew. I went in the living room. Sure enough, on the news, this young boy was being driven back to a group home by his sister. He came from one of the Aboriginal bands just outside of Edmonton, and she was driving him from there back to the group home. And I don't know what happened, but he told her to stop the car on the side of the highway, and she did. And he got out, jumped out, and ran across the highway and was instantly hit and killed by a truck. So when I found that out, I was devastated. I felt awful. I didn't know if he did it because he was being abused or because he was being haunted by, spirits all the time, or what the reason was. But I said, you know what, I owe it to him, and I owe it to these spirits to try and do this. So I went to the pub, and I went to the stairwell by myself, and I said, whoever's out there, if you can help me, please help me send these spirits into the light. Next thing I know, the three spirits, the male, female, and the two females, showed up. I couldn't see the fractured spirit, but those three were there. And the next thing I knew, I heard this voice saying, "It's okay. Everything's going to go all right, and you're going to know what to do." And I just sat there, and next thing you know, I saw the light off to the. It's always happens off to the right side of my face. I'll see a portal open, literally. This light comes like a round door, and then there's almost looks like a ramp, but it's not like a wooden ramp. It's like a ethereal ramp, and the three spirits turned and looked at me and said, "Thank you," and they walked into that light, and the portal closed, and I heard this click, and I just opened my eyes, and I thought, holy crap, I actually sent these guys over into light. And that was one of the most amazing spiritual experiences I'd ever had. And I, of course, thanked the young man who had been killed prior to this and said, thank you for opening my eyes to this. Usually when I tell this story, any of my talks, I start crying. So this is actually good that I'm not crying right now.
I think we all have that, Mike. I think we all have that story, that paranormal story that has affected us, that it's almost brought us to tears.
Yeah. So anyway, from then on, I realized I can do this. So I just started doing it. I just started going to people's houses, and I would take some equipment with me, but then I'd say, you know what, I'm gonna I'm going to send this spirit out of your house for you and explain what I was going to do. And some of the spirits are cooperative. Some of them aren't. The ones that are will just naturally just walk into the light by themselves, or a family member will come out by the portal and they'll see them and they'll run to them and go into the light. But there are some that are very reluctant to go. Some of them, of course, swear at me, curse at me, tell me they're going to, slit my throat or they're going to do this to me and they don't want to go. And I've seen some of the spirits yanked in by hands that just really huge, long arms with hands that came out and just yanked them in. I've seen them vacuumed in. I've seen them with beings that almost looked angelic come out and just grab them and just usher them in, just every kind of possible way. But I mean, once I see these spirits, they can't get away from me. Apparently, they can't go anywhere. They have to go in the light. There's no other way around it. So I think. One of the probably oddest cases. I mean, we've had some really weird and scary ones, but this one was kind of weird. It was a townhouse that a young mother and her kids had moved into, and they were only in the condo for 3 days before they left. So the man who owned the condo, who was renting it to them, said, I don't know why they left. Apparently there was something supernatural in there. They were frightened and they're not coming back. And I got to know why they left. So he said the first morning that they were in their new home, they woke up and looked, and the mother found out the cupboards were open. There was flour, sugar, and salt all over the kitchen floor, and she, of course, blamed her own children, and the kids said, well, we didn't do that. So they couldn't figure out how that happened. The second night they were there, the mom woke up, and she had one of her shoes planted on her chest. Couldn't figure out how the shoe got there. Freaked her out. Took the shoe off, tried to go back to sleep. The third and last night, she woke up and had another shoe on her, but it was on her forehead. So that was it. She got up, she got her kids, they grabbed everything. She grabbed everything except her shoes. And they left in the middle of the night. So when we went into the condo, I went upstairs to the main bedroom where she was sleeping, and I'm looking in the closet. There's all these shoes in the closet. It was like, oh my God, she really did leave all her shoes behind. So what I usually do is I go into this quick meditative state, and what happens is I see the spirits. Now, usually I see the spirits with my eyes closed, but there are some times where I see the spirits right in front of me with my eyes open. But usually I choose to do it with my eyes closed. And the first spirit I saw was a pilot that showed up that had nothing to do with scaring her. And he sort of gave me a look. He was from the pre-war era. He was 1930s, just before the Second World War. And he looked at me like, what am I doing here? And I'm looking at him like, no, what are you doing here? And got him to cross over. And so the next spirit was an Aboriginal male warrior / hunter. And he was very unhappy that I was there, and I explained to him, the reason why I was there. And he just glared at me and then went into the light. And with no talk, so I have no idea who he was. And then I saw these two little child spirits. They were both males. They were bald. They were half unclothed. They had their heads were shaved, dark circles under their eyes. They were very thin and sickly looking. they were orphans from the Romania Ceausescu regime.
Well, that was ugly.
So they had died. Yeah, they had. They were in some orphanage. They died from being malnourished, and they were also mentally impaired because of that. So the reason they were there was they had felt this woman's energy, and I guess she must be a really good mom because that's what attracted them to her. They wanted her to be their mom too. So they saw that she liked making pancakes for the kids. So why all that stuff was on the floor was they were trying to get the stuff ready for her to make pancakes. And they didn't know how to do it, and that's why it was all over the floor. And then the shoe incidents were because they realized she loved shoes. She was just a real shoeaholic. She loved them. So they were placing them on her to let her know that they knew she loved shoes and this was their gift to her. And they just wanted her to sort of, you know, embrace them and adopt them, so to speak. And of course she couldn't see them. She didn't know there were those children there. And it was really kind of a sad thing for these poor little guys. So, because they were orphans and I didn't know, you know, if their parents, when they had died, if their parents were actually still alive here on Earth or if their parents had passed over, I had asked for a higher being to come over and take them into light. And so that happened. So that place got cleared. But it's just too bad the woman, we couldn't get in touch with the woman because I really would have liked to have told her why it happened and then she wouldn't have been so fearful.
Rona, I want to ask you, and I know Mike has some questions too, but I want to ask you about the idea behind crossing spirits over. All right, that is a very, very touchy subject for a lot of people, and I have to tell you, I run a museum tour here in town, and recently we had a psychic lady whom shall remain nameless come on in, and the one spirit in our entire property who is the most pleasant, humble, loving, kindest ghost that we have on the entire facility, she crossed her over.
Are you sure?
Well, this is a story. Oh, I know she didn't, but she allegedly crossed her over, and it was, I'm going to take it as a shot at me personally, because there's nothing more this person would love to do than take over the tour in a little paradrama up here. But it happened, this ghost happens to be the girlfriend of another ghost who Mike knows very well, who can make things very sulfuric in no time flat.
I have some friends that can do that, and they're living.
Mike, you want to jump in here on that?
So Dave does a good sulfuric aroma as well sometimes, but he's referring to his spirit that he calls Willie. Where do you want me to go with this, Dave? Are you wanting to talk about...
Well, your team, you had a former member of your team who was a little too rambunctious with Willie.
Yeah.
Sounds funny.
Well, if you put your mind in the gutter, it does. It sure does. One of my previous team members, he was being pretty rude by calling the spirit out in a mockery tone, swearing a lot, belittling the spirit. I don't like that. No, it's not respectful. Even if you're trying to get a rise out of a spirit, there's other ways to do so. That being said, so what happened was the room got really cold. You walk through the cobwebs, and then you get the sulfuric smell. And his personality kind of altered, too. He got really angry, really loud, really aggressive, wanting to have a go at basically Dave, myself. He was rude to the two ladies that were investigating with us as well. That being said, the person Dave's talking about now that crossed over the female ghost, quote unquote, crossed over the female ghost recently. I talked to the medium I use on my team, Derek, and he stated that spirit's not crossed over either,
No.
just like Rona just said.
No.
So
No, and you're
Yeah,
right, Rona,
no.
for reading that situation quite accurately. What happened was after our last tour, when that incident happened, I contacted a wonderful friend of mine, Angel, and she is extremely intelligent and talented when it comes to dealing with spirits. And she actually went and connected with Mary, and she was almost put into, like, I'm going to use the word purgatory, because she was gone from the building, but she wasn't gone into the light, so to speak. So we were able to get her back. But nonetheless, this goes to the original question of cleansing and clearing locations. There are a lot of people out there. We only got about 5 minutes to go before we go to break. There's a lot of people out there who don't believe that the spirits should be crossed over, that it is not our job. So how do you define, Rona, in crossing over spirits that don't want to go?
Well, okay. So I'm going to be really quick about this. Okay, so number one, people go and smudge and think that they've gotten rid of spirits, and it's the same thing. That's what happened to Mary. What happens is it's stinky. It's like getting a priest in. The spirits don't like it. They leave. They eventually come back because you haven't crossed them over. You've just stunk them out, or you've pissed them off, or you've done something and they leave, but they come back. The reason why I cross these spirits over is, number one, they're scaring people. And they have no, what I call, familial relationship or ancestral relationship with anyone that's in the house. So they do not belong there. They're doing malicious stuff. I don't cross over people's relatives or friends, or I can't do it. They are uncrossable because they've already crossed over and are allowed to come back. These are people that have died that have never crossed over, and everybody needs to cross over. Once you cross over, you can come back and visit your loved ones. It's kind of like what I call the, not the great recycle house in the sky, but you have to go there in order to come back. So, I'm not doing it as this is fun, let's just do this and cross people over. It is for a reason, and even little children.
And I'm going to cut you off right there, and I apologize, but as we only got about 2.5 minutes, but that seems to be one of the new trends in the paranormal, is that everybody is just going into these buildings, and whether or not there's respect for the spirits or not, they just we got to cross them over. We got to cross them over.
Yeah, but I don't think that they are, because unless you actually, and I tell people that, unless you see a spirit going through a portal, if you, everyone said, I know how to do it, I know how to do it. No, you don't know how to do it. I think there's very few people that know how to do it. And unless you see them physically go to the other side, they haven't crossed over. They've just gone into another dimension or gone somewhere else. So,
on a side note, when my old team member was provoking in Dave's post house, we got one of the clearest Class A EVPs our team has ever recorded that told us that it said open hell, which was pretty unnerving. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Oh, that's eerie. That's eerie.
Yeah, I wouldn't take heart in that, because they're, from what I've seen, they're the only hell that there is what we make on Earth here. On the others, when people die, they become another form of energy, but they don't go to any place that's like hell in that they show in the Bible in these places. Everybody goes to the same place. Everybody that I have encountered, whether they be a 2-year-old child or they be a 40-year-old rapist, they all go to the same place. Whether people like it or not, or they believe it or not, it's what it is, because we're all energy. Because whatever we did in our life by that point doesn't matter. They just have to get all the energy together like one big Play-Doh ball. And that's what they do.
Well, that makes sense.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah. And actually, when we come back, I can tell you about the portal and how it's formed, because there is a video that shows that nobody really knows about. And people that take paranormal photographs, they're going to be so intrigued when they hear about this.
That is just wonderful.
I don't know.
Absolutely wonderful. Quickly here, as we got about 30 seconds here before we need to go to break. When you are crossing people over or spirits over, are the spirits asking you, can I go home now?
Some of them are. So some of them are saying, you know, is my mommy coming? Or I'll get a thing from my spirit guide saying, ask them about their father or ask them about their mother. And I'll say, you know, how did you feel about your mother, or would you know, like to see her? And so, you know, the mother would come out from the other side and wave at her son, and the son would, you know, immediately want to go into the light with her, and that's where he belongs. So, yeah.
On that note,
but a lot of them.
On that note, I'm going to get you to hold on because I do have to go to break here. Rona Anderson is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio on Ghosts of the Great White North with Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada. Rona's team is Paranormal Explorers out of Edmonton, Alberta. We're going to get into some weird haunted locations coming on up because she has some incredible stories about how haunted northern Alberta, Canada really, truly is. And we'll even find out what Mike's mustache looks like because he's growing out a power stash right now, and it's looking good. It's looking really good. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right after this.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Coming September 28th to the 30th, it's our first annual Caribou Paracon, put on by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers. 3 days of paranormal, supernatural, and spiritual knowledge in the beautiful 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Tickets are $150 Canadian for the event, being held at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Come watch our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Lorian Fenton, David Weatherly, Ross Allison, and more. The Caribou Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4 Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm going to take you for a ride every Sunday night on Spaced Out Sundays. I'm going to set up your week with some strange tales from across North America, from psychic readings, Sasquatch, UFOs, to the most haunted locations. Come join me at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, and let's get weird together. I'd love for you to join me. Spaced Out Sundays at spacedoutradio.com.
There's news, and there's the encounter. This is Spaced Out Radio News Director Everett Beamer inviting you to check out The Encounter, our half-hour news segment every Monday through Friday night is different compared to what you're used to. Our goal is to bring you the weird, strange, and interesting stories the mainstream tends to leave out, and stories that will make you scratch your head in disbelief. The Encounter can also be found at spacedoutradio.com and on our Facebook page, SOR The Encounter. Come give us a read.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for some great nightlife? The Moose Vancouver is the place to be. Catch a game on one of the big screens or just come rock out to your favorite 80s and 90s hair bands. Great food starting at $6.95. The Moose Vancouver is open until 2 a.m. nightly. It's easy to find near the corner of Nelson and Granville. The Moose Vancouver is the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Morin. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night on the show, Jamie Sexton is back for the Rebel Planet, our look into the world of alternative news. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Hello to everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio. Good to have you with us. Don't forget, all of our archives are free on our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio video, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Panhypopopatuitarism. Panhypopopatuitarism. I have no idea what that means, but Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, shop at our store, read up on the encounter online, and so much more. And don't forget, tickets are on sale. As next week, we have the first annual Caribou Paracon, presented by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers, September 28th through 30th, right here at the Spruce Hill Resort and Spa in beautiful 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Go to questers.ca, click on the fall conference, and get your tickets right now. It's Ghosts of the Great White North. We do this show the third Wednesday of every month, where I am joined by Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada, as he continues to try and grow a power stash, much like Uncle Dale in the chat room. But nonetheless, Mike is here to talk all about our ghost situation everywhere across Canada. And tonight we're in Edmonton, Alberta, with our guest, Rona Anderson. She is from a great little team called Paranormal Explorers. Her and her husband Ben set this up 16 years ago. Rona, Mike, welcome back.
Hey, thank you.
Oh, hey.
I hope you got to brush your stash out there, Mike, for the break there, and
I buy only the finest pomade for it.
Yes, he's more of a Brill cream kind of guy, but nonetheless, Mike, you had an interesting question that you wanted to ask Rona.
I do, but first off, I wish I could grow a mustache properly. Anyhow, so Dave and I have been having this little chat off air in a little chat box here for quite some time, a couple days. It seems to, whenever I go to the 108 Mile Ranch or even the Bailey House, the reason I'm asking you this question is because I noted you picked up on that, how the spirit has not crossed over at the ranch. So I'm assuming you're somewhat dialed in a little bit. So my question to you is, why do I get negatively attacked at all of these locations? Example being, the last time we were at 108 Mile Ranch, I was in the barn doing my thing, asking the questions, and nothing. All of our gear, everything was flat. Nothing was going on. And then I'm like, I'm going to leave the barn, see what happens. And
more like I kicked you out. Let's be honest.
Yes, the big alpha kicked me out. So anyhow, I'm out of the barn, and then all of their little K2s start going off in that. But that being said, I've been attacked at other locations too quite often. I consider myself pretty seasoned. Like, I go in protected. Our team, we have a medium who, much like you, can cross people over properly. He watches over me. He will smudge me or do whatever it takes that I'm not affected. Point is it always happens, and it gets worse and worse at the 108 Mile Ranch.
Well, what do you mean when you say you're attacked? Like, be specific about what's an attack.
Negative. Like, we get negative. Like, I know you're not a gear person, but we get negative EVPs. A lot of EVPs when I'm doing EVP sessions. I've been pushed. I've been scratched. We get no. There's no evidence coming. There's no. None of our. Nothing works. It's silent. It's like there's nothing going on. But the second I leave, it's all like, oh, Mike's gone. Let's talk now. That's what I'm getting at.
Okay, so I don't know how you approach doing the things with the spirits, but I know when I'm going to take photographs or I'm going to record them, I sort of say either out loud or to myself, I want to talk with whoever's in the room, and if you could please speak into my recorder, or the same with photographs. If you could appear in my photograph, I'd really appreciate it. And then I usually thank them. I think it depends on what they're reading in your mind too, because they can pick up stuff that is going through your mind while you're doing this. So if you're like, oh my God, I wonder what I'm going to get, or this is so boring, or oh, I don't get anything
Guilty
from these guys, or I'd have to be there with you to know. But I know that when I do recordings, sometimes I get them saying stuff to me, and it's because they think they want to freak me out, or they want to, and I mean, it doesn't really scare me or do anything to me, and it takes so much effort for them to speak or to do it, to move things or to touch you, that they're doing it either so that you know that they really are there, or they're thinking if you're just a little spooked, or you're a little imagining what could be there, they'll play on that. So I don't know how you are when you go into situations, if you're like, I'm not sure what's in here, I'm just a little nervous. Sometimes what they'll do is they'll play on that. I know if people have fear of clowns, or fear of certain types of horror symbols or icons, that sometimes these spirits will try and create themselves in that form, just so it will freak out people in their house or wherever they are when they see these apparitions. And I mean, like I said, whatever is in your mind, they can, grab it out of there and know what you're thinking. So, I mean, a lot of people I
usually have a mindset of, let's go on, have a chat, let's learn some stuff, let's talk to some spirits. I'm very neutral. I'm a very positive person. But when I go into locations, I'm never nervous. I'm never anxious. I enjoy it. I've done it long enough to where I don't get scared. Boy, when I first started this, I was like the guy on the TV running down the hallway when I heard the cat meow. That used to be me. I'll admit that. I think a lot of us are like that when we first start to do this stuff, when you get into serious locations. My investigating style is like, if you put Dave and I in the same room, we are black and white. I'm more aggressive, not disrespectful, but I am aggressive. I want an answer. I'm more no bull crap than he is. He's a little more passive and friendly, which is cool because you put us in a room together. A lot of times we play well on that, where it's good guy and more assertive, kind of playing both ends of the stick. But I just find at the 108 Mile Ranch, it's like, you're not welcomed here anymore.
Well, yeah, 'cause, I mean, it's obviously there's a specific spirit that, can be very unfriendly to probably not just you, but other people, right? So, I mean, there are some spirits who, honestly, they know they're dead. You'd be surprised at some that don't know they're dead, but they know they're dead. Sometimes they're jealous of the living, and sometimes they'll just, sort of pick one person specifically and go, I am going to give him a hard time because I don't like his attitude, or I don't like the way he looks, or I don't like... You have to think about it. They're just like us, except they don't have a physical body. So, I mean, look at all the encounters you've had with people who are alive, and look what kind of, dickheads some of them can be, right? You're going to get spirits that are dickheads. So...
I think with Mike, though, Mike is, and I've investigated with Mike enough now, and I've learned a lot off of Mike. And even though he has an aggressive style, he's very polite about it. And that is something that I can honestly say, because I've seen it. and he's a very talented investigator, but he gets picked on. He gets picked on by the spirits, and I'm just wondering if it's something maybe in his aura or something that, they just feel that he is somebody whom they don't need to communicate with. Because literally, when I threw Mike out of two buildings, all of a sudden those buildings came to life. We had 7 K2 meters in a circle go all off to red right after Mike left.
Wow. I don't know. I don't know, Mike. I don't know what they're getting from you. They, maybe they realize, what, and here's the other thing. Sometimes there are people who are investigators and they want to get that result. They want to get that recording. They want to get that photograph so bad. And sometimes the spirits realize that, and to them it's humorous, and they're thinking, I'm going to wait till he leaves the room. They will literally mess with us and do it because they know that it affects us. And we have to realize that the emotions that come out, like if you come back in and you find out, oh my God, they got all this stuff while I was out of the room, and that would tick me off as an investigator that I wasn't there and they got all that stuff. They feed off of that. So now you're emanating this emotional energy coming out because of it, and they're feeding off of it. Whereas maybe, Dave doesn't do that. I don't know.
Do you think, because I've had some pretty serious attachments over the last few years where one of them almost made me quit the paranormal entirely. No one knows that until now. This was a couple of years back where I almost just said, F it, this is too much, this is too serious, and this scared the living crap out of me, and I don't like it. So a lot of times, like 108 Mile Ranch, it's up for debate of if there's a more negative type spirit there, but I've gone to a lot of other locations that aren't so famous, just your run-of-the-mill houses or graveyards or other historic areas where our team has dealt with some serious business. And sometimes I'll go into these locations not as protected as I should be to try and communicate better or leave myself open a little bit. But going forward a lot, maybe I overprotect myself. I've been told before that I do that. Like Derek on our team, he's like, leave, because I carry stones on me, and they protect me. And Derek's like, leave your onyx and your agate in the hotel or in your room, and then you'll get results, because those are the ones that really I rely on for protection. That's another thing I've thought maybe I go in too protected at this point now.
Well, you know what? The thing is that I'll be really honest with you. The spirits don't care what stones you've got with you. Do you know what I mean? I used to be the same way. I had talismans and amulets and crystals and all kinds of stuff when I first started doing this. And I realized that not one of these things mean anything to dead people. They don't care if we're carrying, our mother's crucifix, or if we have a huge crystal with us, or if we have a dream catcher, or if we have any of this stuff. It's a material thing. It doesn't mean anything to them. It doesn't do anything to them. Everything is mental and psychological. So everything that's in our mind and our attitude is what protects us. And if you believe, if you can make the motions, I tell this to children. I say, you know what, when you have something coming into your room and you're scared and you don't want it to come near you, or you're scared it's going to do something, then what you can do is pretend that you have a stormtrooper outfit on. Create that stormtrooper outfit in your mind, because with kids it's like Star Wars. With adults, I usually tell them to create a suit of armor, like a medieval knight, and I said fashion that suit of armor around you, like visualize that. And I said psychologically, what that does is it puts a barrier up, and it protects you and separates you from being affected negatively by spirits. So I would encourage you, if you can do, if you can even find it once a week, to do meditation, and even and imagine being surrounded with some kind of armor that keeps you apart, but you're still involved with what you're doing, that nothing can affect you. Then it's like practicing. It's just like playing basketball. The more you play it, the better you get at basketball. And it's the same thing with imagining and visualizing this. If you can do that, you should be able to go in anywhere, and you won't get an attachment. You won't get something trying to do something nasty to you. It takes a while. It's not a quick process, but you can do it. It's something that I encourage everybody out there who does any kind of paranormal investigation, or even sometimes urban explorers. They go into a lot of abandoned places, and I really think psychologically, if you can create this image in your mind, so that nothing negatively spiritual can get through and do something to you. How long does your show go?
We got literally another hour with you. Hour and 9 minutes.
Oh, okay, great. Oh, okay, great. Because I thought, I wonder if I should be explaining this other thing, but it's not a big deal. But that's what I would do if you want to carry the crystals and other stuff because it makes you feel protected, then do it. But just know that you're doing it because it helps you psychologically. Because the more psychologically positive you are about that these things are not going to affect me, then the better it is.
My crystals are my stormtrooper outfit. I don't make Star Wars. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree. A lot of it's mental and physical stuff. I use the crystals as a mental thing, right? Because there's another fact about Mike nobody knows. Number 2 tonight. I do meditate up to 4 times a week, religiously.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So, and I use my crystals, and I got my little cauldron with my incense, and I do my hippy dippy stuff, and here we are.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. I've got nothing but love for that kind of stuff. So
would Mike's career as a mall cop have anything to do with it?
Are we not allowed to swear on this station? Because I almost got an F-bomb there.
No, I'm just curious.
My career is saving animals and doing animal cruelty, investigating animal cruelty.
Mall cop.
Lock boy. Go clean a car.
Yeah, I like the mall cop reference. That's funny. I think there's a lot of stuff in malls too. Come to talk about it. I don't know if you guys have ever been to a mall after hours, but they can get pretty weird.
I'm serious about that question though. Mike's career as an animal enforcement officer, does that have because he is
I'm not really a mall cop.
No, unfortunately, he's not. But I just like to bug him about it. But nonetheless, with him being in a position of authority, does that maybe rub spirit the wrong way?
Well, I mean, I think it depends on the spirit, but it could. I mean, it's quite possible. I know when I go into a lot of places, I know I rub a lot of spirits the wrong way because I'm going in there as a person of authority that is going in there to help the people who are having problems in the house. And I haven't been, scratched or kicked or hit or, have things thrown at me, anything like that. If anything, now when I go into people's houses, spirits hide from me. And they know that I'm there for one reason and one reason only, and they try to hide outside the house and think that I don't see them, but that they're outside the house. But, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't think that Mike carries his job into when he's doing the investigation. I mean, I don't, I can't put my finger on a reason because I'm not there with him when he's doing it. I think if I was with him, which I think would be really cool for us all to do an investigation together, I think that would be amazing. Because just look at the stuff we'd probably get, right? Like I said, I'd have to be there with him to know that I'd probably pick up, oh, you know what? The spirit's doing this because of this reason. Because it's really, I can't, I mean, I can take a number of guesses, but they're guesses.
Right.
I thought about that too. Like Dave's question or Dave's comment about my job. On a daily basis, I'm yelling or politely talking to people about what they're doing wrong. Right. I deal with a lot of negative, very negative, dangerous people. I see a lot of death every day of animals and people, depending on the type of files I'm going on. I've thought maybe I'm carrying a lot of the energy, but again, that's why I do my hippy-dippy meditating and with my stones and my incense. I ground myself because I need that with my job as well. So,
well, have you done investigations after you've had a really bad day?
Every day is a rough day. Yeah, I do all the time.
So have you gone to these investigations after having a really rough day or seeing some animal being abused or is dead? And because, I mean, that's hard to get out of your head.
I've been doing it for 14 years now. But yeah, there are times when I will literally go from work. I'll still be wearing my, I call them my cop boots and my patrol pants with just a normal, I'll take my work shirt off and my duty belt and bulletproof vest off and just literally go from work to an investigation. That happens frequently when we're doing local investigations, yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that's if that's the exact thing that's affecting them. I don't know, because really, if you're going in with authority and you're you've got that right mindset where you're protecting yourself, I don't know why they would do that other than seriously, if you really, really, really want to get results and you're not getting them and then you leave, find out someone else gets results, and it kind of ticks you off. They like to do things like that. They play with you. So I just think it's something where they're messing with you. Mm-hmm. And I mean, not just you specifically. There's other people that get messed with when they go on to stuff like that.
That could very well be. We will find out next week. Ain't that right, Dave? Ain't that right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to change topics here because you mentioned to me earlier on, like Edmonton, especially the northern part, and as you head into northern Alberta, it's a rough portion of country. There was a gold rush back there, much like the 108-mile area where the Gold Rush Trail follows right north to the Yukon and the Klondike, right down to California, Nevada, and it did go east, much like your area. There's a lot of logging, there's a lot of oil, and there is a lot of rough, tough people going back to the days when Canada was being formed, and there was no Northwest Mounted Police, which eventually became the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. It was a lawless land at that point. So, looking at northern Edmonton, how haunted is your city and north above you?
Well, Edmonton itself actually is fairly active, and people that live in Edmonton and other parts of Canada don't actually realize. I think of course every city and every town have spirits and haunted places. It's just that because I live in Edmonton, I've noticed the areas that are more active than others, and the one area that is active with very negative spirits is the northeast part of Edmonton, and I believe that we don't have any historical confirmation of it, but I believe part of it is because when people were leaving for the gold rush, which was a very brief time, they left in very bad conditions, and they went at the time through what was supposed to be extremely thick and dense brush, which really the only areas at the time cleared was near Fort Edmonton, which was at that time on the north side of the river, and there were some living areas, but there wasn't really a city per se, and so when they took the horses, a lot of them got stuck literally in the trees because the trees were so close together. They got injured. There was nothing for the horses to eat, which I was shocked about, but apparently in the forest there wasn't the right type of scrub or grass or brush or whatever the horses eat was not there. And so if you don't have horses, you're not going to make it up there. And so a lot of people died from cold, from accidents with horses. There's just all kinds of stuff that happened. There were also settlements of Cree and Blackfoot around Edmonton, and so there were settlers rivaling for land with Aboriginal bands, and which didn't turn out well. And I think in the most part, the Cree and the Blackfoot were pretty peaceful people. But I mean, you have people encroaching on your land, and some of these people who were coming from other countries weren't the friendliest either. So there was all kinds of altercations. And then you were talking about the Northwest Mounted Police, where White Avenue is in Edmonton, which is a very trendy area on the south side of the river. We have a lot of bars and trendy stores, and on the weekends there's a lot of fighting, and they've had shootings and stabbings and all kinds of things happen down there. And what it used to be back in the late 1800s was sort of a stopping over area, and a lot of the buildings were rooming houses and general stores and bars that people could go into to drink, trade their furs and whatever things that they had to barter with. And then Northwest Mounted Police had a jurisdiction, which was an area, I believe, east. was sort of near White Avenue, and it was east. No, sorry, was it west of west? There was an area that was governed by the Northwest Mounted Police, and then there was an area that they didn't have governance over. And the area they didn't have governance over, I mean, you could go in and you could say, hey, I want your pelt, your beaver pelt or your wolf pelt or whatever, or I want your gold or whatever, and shoot the person and not get arrested. So when you think about the Wild Wild West, White Avenue, way back, in the 1800s was, in essence, once in a blue moon, a Wild West show. So wherever the Northwest Mounted Police didn't have jurisdiction, there was all kinds of things that would happen. And you've heard of residual energy, things left on the land when blood is spilled or horrible incidents happen. They seem to cut into that landscape, or however you want to phrase it. And so we have a lot of places on White Avenue that they're definitely haunted. And we have one place that I've been trying to get in for a long time, and I've left messages, and the Princess Theater. And when I used to do a ghost tour years ago, we used to talk about all the places on White Avenue, and there was a story that went with the Princess Theater, and I found out later from one of the people that worked at the Princess Theater, the story was incorrect and was an urban myth. And I said, thank you. I'm taking that off the ghost tour write-up, because I don't believe in making up stories. I like to stick to historical facts. And he said, it'd be great for you to come into the Princess and find out what's really there. And I said, hey, that sounds wonderful. He said, yeah, we have a new owner, so, you should try and come in. So, of course, I phoned and can't really get anybody to call me back. And I don't know why they're so sticky about not wanting somebody in there, but they apparently see somebody sitting in the theater before shows start, and then people go to their seat, and of course the person disappears. I'd like to know who they are. It's not like I'm going to go in and clear the place out and, spirits and the like kind of thing. I just want to know who is there and why they're there. And then there's quite a few bars on White Avenue, and I've talked with waitresses and different people, bartenders, and they've told me, oh yeah, this place, after hours, this happens and that happens. And I've told them, yeah, I know, because I can see the person that's causing it standing in the corner. Of course, that doesn't help them at all, because they have to close up that night. So it's probably not the best habit for me to get into, to be telling, waitresses before they have to shut the place up that, oh yeah, that guy's standing over there. You can't see him, but he's there. So we have in the northeast part of Edmonton, it's an area called Clairview. And so we have Beverly and Clairview, and they have a lot of, those two areas have, like, a lot of the phone calls that we've gotten, and we've had to go over there. It's just been really nasty stuff. There's another area in Edmonton. It's Fort Edmonton. You've probably heard about it, Fort Edmonton.
I have heard about that, yeah.
It's historical recreation of the way it used to look in different eras in Edmonton. And a majority of the buildings are actually recreations. They're not the originals. So people always say, well, how can this place be haunted then if it's not the real buildings? And I go, aha, what a good question. The answer is because you have a building from, like, they've got 1905 Street and 1885 Street. There are a lot of spirits that were alive at that time who passed. And they look at the building or the inside of the building and they say, you know what, I used to live in a house like this. I like it. I'm going to stay here for a while. And so what happens is you get, it's almost like, I don't want to say infestation because that's kind of disrespectful, but you get one spirit and then another spirit comes and another spirit comes, and next thing you know, the whole place is populated. And so Fort Edmonton, there's just a ton of buildings that have spirits in them. And, you know, when I walk by, I don't even have to go in some of them. I can just see some of them looking out the window. I can sense them there. Sometimes you can hear stuff. There was a show that we did a long time ago called CBC Nerve. And it was a show about young people that had unusual vocations. And I had nominated this one girl who used to do paranormal investigation with us for one of the episodes. And they said, you know, we really like for you to be in the episode, and we'd like for you to show us how you're a paranormal investigator, and can we do it at Fort Edmonton? And we so we went and helped her, and we set up equipment, and we were sort of going to be in the background. And the CBC guys that were filming this were young guys, and of course they didn't believe in the paranormal, and they had you know, were walking around filming us, and of course making snide remarks as we were doing things. And there's a church on 1905 Street, and I can't remember what it's called. It's just down from the Firkins and the Rutherford House. And there is something really nasty in that church. And I haven't had the chance to really get into the church and find out, like sit there and find out what it is, because it moves around so much. But what happened was I went and left a voice digital recorder in the church. Nobody was there. Nobody was supposed to be in the church. And I wanted to record what was there. Well, what happens is these idiots, these CBC guys, sneak in and start giggling and, oh, I'm a ghost. There's ghosts in here. And they're doing this stupid pantomime of trying to be scary ghosts or something. Well, the joke was on them, because if you listen to the recording, something actually starts talking to them on the recording. And, of course, the recording is no good, because I know to discern between the CBC guys and this other spirit's voice. But the way that they did it, they kind of messed up any kind of great EVP we could have gotten from there. And what I did was I took the snippet of where this spirit was talking to them, and I sent it to them after this whole thing had been filmed, and said, hey, guess what, guys? You really weren't alone in there. And also thanks for screwing up our, you know, evidence that we could have gotten to add to the storyline. But, you know, anyway, that didn't matter to them. But there's just every kind of positive and negative spirit in the different places there. And that's another thing that people have a misconception about, is they think, oh, well, this old house that was built in the 1800s is haunted because a person died in it. And you realize, no, nobody has actually died in the house. What's happened is spirit has come to the house because they are interested in either the people that are living there, or interested in the house. And a lot of people have different lifestyles or hobbies, or they have pets, or they have kids, and spirits are attracted sometimes to that. Not necessarily because the house is, 200 years old or something. So, just because somebody went into a house and hung themselves, or they, died in their bed in a house, doesn't mean that house is going to be haunted by that person. There was a case that we had where a woman called us in, and her husband had unfortunately taken his own life. And she says, yeah, I want to know, who's in my house and what's going on. And I finally told her who she had in her house was this poor elderly woman who had Alzheimer's. And when she died, she still had that damaged mind kind of thing where she didn't know where she was. And she was just wandering around making noise and doing all this stuff. And I don't know where she came from, but she was in the woman's house. And the woman said, well, no, that's impossible. She said, it should be my husband. I said, your husband crossed over. I said, eventually he might come back to visit you, but I said, your husband had no trouble after what he did crossing over. He's not here. He is not in your house. And so she was really shocked about that. So there's just some, misconceptions that people have about why spirits haunt their house. And, when we do talks, we usually go into detail about all the different cases that we've had and, why the spirits are there. And, excuse me, some people have questions about, well, why would that spirit be there? It doesn't make any sense. And then we would tell them, well, it was there because the young daughter played piano, and the spirit actually used to play piano themselves when they were alive. So there's different reasons why different areas are haunted and houses are haunted and, things like that. And it's just interesting when people relate their stories of places that they lived in that have been haunted, and you try to figure out what had been haunting their place and why it was there. And usually you can figure out because they will tell you what they like to do or what would happen, what the spirit would do, and then you just ask them, well, did you used to ride horses, or did you used to do this? Well, yes, I did, and well, that's why. Sorry, I'm getting a dry throat. That's why the spirit was there, And so yeah, I'd like to kind of diverge off the subject here, but yeah, lots and lots of places in Edmonton are haunted. Yet very, very, very few calls for the west end of Edmonton, which is funny.
Mm-hmm. With the spirit activity that is there, does a lot of it have to do with a lot of tensions going back 150 years ago between the advancement of Canada moving west and going coast to coast, much like the United States did, and the First Nations community? Because, let's face it, our history in Canada shows that there wasn't much love for the First Nations people back then.
Yeah, we did a lot of bad stuff. So, I did have a case where there was family living in this one area, and they had discovered some relics and some bones in an area, and they unearthed it. And they really shouldn't have. They should have left it where it was. They unfortunately took it back to their trailer that they were living in, and a whole bunch of stuff started happening. They called in I'm going to use the term lightly, paranormal investigator, who came in with a team. And what happened was the man who was the head of that took off with one of the artifacts. And when we went out to their place to investigate, I had a couple of friends at the time that came with us, and they were Aboriginal people, and one of them was connected with elders, and we realized that what we have to do is retrieve stuff and put it back and have a ceremony. And the one guy that had, I'm trying to remember, I think it was some kind of bone. It was a human bone. It was a human bone or bones. And of course, we're trying to tell him, you don't have the right to have this. That this has to go back to where it belonged. And eventually, Ben had to go. And you've never seen Ben, but Ben is a very big guy. And he went to the door and knocked on the guy's door and said, "Give me the bones." Like, literally, just give them to me. And we took them back to the place. And we did a proper, there's a burying of the bones ceremony. I don't know what it is called, but this man did it. And when I went back to the area where the people were living, I was in their, I think it was their kitchen, and I was looking out through the window, and I finally saw it was a group of mainly women and children, but there were some older men, and they were all of an Aboriginal band, their spirits, and they were all standing in a row, and they were looking at me. And I was told that they had all died of, most of them had died of, it sounded like smallpox or some kind of flu. And then I saw a soldier, and was a Canadian soldier from some regiment, and he was very apologetic. And he said, "Yeah, we brought this stuff to them, and we shouldn't have." And the other, so we kind of.
Where did our friend go? Did her phone die, Mike?
Where did she go? Because I have a really good question I've been holding right dear to my heart. Maybe I'll save that bad boy for top of the hour.
Wonder if she actually hit mute there. Because it's still showing that she's connected. Let's call her back, shall we? Let's call her back.
Shall. Do it.
I need you to move closer to your microphone, Mike. You're sounding like you're in the bathroom right now.
You want the answer to that? I'm kidding.
Well, it is kind of potty humor here on Spaced Out Radio for Ghosts of the Great White North. We're going to try and get Rona Anderson back here because she's kind of important to what we are doing on the show tonight. So,
Hey,
there you are. Now we got you.
What was the last thing I was talking about?
You were talking about the history with the ghosts and the First Nations.
Oh, okay. So did I tell the part about that we got the bones back and
yeah, you got the bones.
They got
back.
buried and
yeah, and you buried them. Yes, we got that part.
Okay, and then I saw the group of people, the group of spirits standing outside of the kitchen window of the family's trailer, the land that this happened on, and saw a group of female Aboriginal spirits with children and some elderly males, and then there was a Canadian soldier from, God, I don't know, it had to be early 1800s, maybe. It could be before that. Not much before that, but so he was apologizing for the fact that they had obviously had altercations with them, but also had given them either flu or smallpox or something and killed off a large part of their population. So it was kind of a positive thing because it's kind of like bringing two factions together, and it seemed to be finally I don't want to say peace agreement. It seemed to be acknowledging, the negative things that happened to these people, recognizing the fact that they had been treated as they had, and for the soldier recognizing the fact that they had done things they shouldn't have done, and then they just sort of vanished after that happened. Hello?
Yeah, we're here.
Oh,
sorry. We're just listening to your stories.
We're soaking it up.
We're soaking it up. But you know what? I am going to get you to hold on. And this is probably a good time for a break because we're about 20 seconds from going to our final break of the night. So it's probably a good area to stop. And we got Mall Cop over there, trying to halt the walking traffic so we can cross the road into the break.
You going to detail my truck next week?
It's not even funny. It's not even funny. But nonetheless, Rona, you hold on because I want to ask you, and I know Mike has some questions, and we only got you for about another 30 minutes here, and we got a lot of questions to ask you yet, so there's going to be a lot of running through the next 30 minutes of Spaced Out Radio. Rona Anderson is our guest tonight with Mike Morin and myself on Ghosts of the Great White North. We do this feature the third Wednesday of every month. Rona's website, if you want to check it out, paranormalexplorers.com. They are from Edmonton, Alberta. Her and her husband, Ben, looks like a pretty fun guy. Probably likes a good hockey game every now and again, which is nice. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right after this. Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
The first annual Caribou Paracon is happening September 28th to 30th in the 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Brought to you by the Canadian Society of Questers and Spaced Out Radio. Come listen to our featured speaker, Grant Cameron, along with Elizabeth Anglin, Paisley Town, Mike Morin, Eric Cooper, and more. It's a 3-day supernatural adventure at the Spruce Hills Resort and Spa. Tickets for the weekend are $150 Canadian. The Caribou Paracon, celebrating everything paranormal.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Find yourself constantly looking up in the sky, looking for answers? Have you had extraterrestrial contact? Are you an abductee? Looking for answers to your experiences? Hi there, I'm R. Keith Andrews, Spaced Out Radio's resident ET expert. Join me live the first Friday of every month where I take questions from the Spaced Out Radio chat room and help you understand those from the far-off world. It's 2 hours of knowledge every experiencer should listen to. Hope to see you there.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from your 4-Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us and bring your questions for us to investigate right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
When it comes to the news, we look for the stories that the mainstream won't cover. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter. This is News Director Everett Thiemer. The Encounter is about the weird and strange stories that occur daily, and we scour the world looking to bring them to you. You can hear me with Dave Scott every Monday through Friday in our Encounter news segment. Read us online at spacedoutradio.com or check us out and give our Facebook page a like at SOR The Encounter. So come give The Encounter a read.
From the mile-high state of Colorado, sharing our signal around the world, I invite you to Spaced Out Sundays. Hi, I'm Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm closing out the week by taking you on a paranormal journey to the world of the weird. Ghosts, aliens, psychic phenomena, I will hit it all in your questions too. So let us highlight the paranormal for you. So come join me for Spaced Out Sundays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back for the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the program, Jamie Sexton will join us with the Rebel Planet. We're going to get into some hot-button topics on the alternative news side, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Don't forget, Friday night is going to be a network replay, as I will be traveling down to the Forest Moon Paracon, where I am speaking in Sadie-Woolley, Washington State, Saturday the 22nd, so I'd love to see you up there. If you can make it, that would be great. 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Hello to everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio. Don't forget, all of our archives are free on our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/spacedoutradio. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Damn it, I got to find it here. It's disappeared off of my computer. Where did it go? Where did it go, Bill? Now I'm going to scroll on up because I know I butchered it the last time. And what a time for Facebook to get into a really, really slow-moving experience. All right. Getting closer. Getting closer. And there it is. Panhypopituitarianism. Oh, I butchered that. I'm not even saying no, it's panhypopituitarianism. Blah, blah, blah. Bill sets the password. Yeah, it's terrible. It is absolutely terrible. Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Panhypopituitarianism.
What the hell kind of dictionary does he have? Holy cow.
Well, you know what? What he does is he has a Scrabble bag, and he just throws a bunch of letters together. Okay. Panhypopituitarianism. I think that's it.
It sounds like a terrible condition somebody has.
Oh, it's terrible. Nobody ever knows the meaning of these words that Bill uses, but it's just ridiculous. Our website.
It's probably good.
Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, shop at our store, read up on the encounter online, and so much more. And don't forget, tickets are on sale for the first annual Caribou Paracon, brought to you by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers, September 28th through 30th. It's just next week. You want to get up here to beautiful 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia, at the Spruce Hill Resort and Spa. And, of course, go to questers.ca. That's questers.ca. And get your tickets right there. All right. Final time tonight, we introduce Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada. And our special guest tonight, Rona Anderson from a great team out of Edmonton, Alberta called Paranormal Explorers. We're talking all things haunted over there. Welcome back.
Thank you. I would love to go to that convention. I'm gonna hopefully maybe I can get there next year or something.
Well, I hope
it
so.
Sounds like a good convention.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Throw that out to anybody that's having a convention. Please invite me to your conventions because I love to talk at them. So anyway, we were just talking about Aboriginal spirits. I'm just going to tell you a really quick story here.
Please do.
That happened just a couple of years ago. There was an elderly couple that asked me to come to their condo because there were things that were happening. So one of the things that happened was a shot glass was broken and thrown in the garbage, and the next day they opened the cupboard in the kitchen where the glasses are kept, and the shot glass was back in there totally intact. The female of the house found clothes in her closet that were not her clothes. They were an expensive brand of clothing, but they were slightly worn. They weren't her size. They couldn't figure out how the clothing got in there. There was also jewelry and other items that were not hers that she would find around the condo. She had money that went missing. Her husband said he had no reason to touch it because he has his own money and it was hers to do what she wanted with. So that went missing. She had makeup and face cream that she'd find that was not her brands. Just weird stuff like that. So, I mean, I was a little skeptical when I got told this, but anyway, I went into their condo and went and sat down in their family room, and I saw a really well-dressed spirit of a woman in her 70s, and she had a red dress, immaculate hair, earrings, glasses, and she was holding onto the hand of another female spirit, and the other female spirit looked like very mentally unstable. The lady in red was like one of these, everything has to be perfect and in its place kind of person. She wouldn't give me her name, but the woman she was hanging on to, who was the crazy one, she said, "This is Izzy." And I said, "Oh, okay." And so this Izzy was the crazy one, was trying to pick up things and throw them. And she had very messed up hair. I couldn't see what her face looked like. So the woman in the red dress was trying to stop Izzy from destroying the place. So I mean, I didn't really know what their story was. They weren't really communicating very much. And of course, Izzy was just in a state and didn't talk. And so I just sent them into the light and went back to the couple to tell them what I had found. So I related the woman in red and described her to them, and then said, yeah, there was another woman there. She was a little bit off and crazy looking, and her name was Izzy. Well, as soon as I said the name Izzy, they both looked at each other and said, "Oh my God, are you serious?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Well, the woman in red, who didn't give her name, sounded like the woman who used to live in their condo, whose children got her out of the condo and sent her to a care facility, and then she passed in a care facility. And she was one of these women who, she was very well dressed. The condo was immaculate, and she always had the best of everything. So she said that the woman in red, that's got to be this woman that lived there. And but this Izzy, she said, "We got to tell you the story." She said years ago that they lived in an area of Edmonton and had a house built, and they went through electrical problems, plumbing problems, telephone line problems. One day they had a pipe burst, and it flooded the basement, and the plumber had stated that it was almost impossible because the pipe was encased in cement, and the pipe inside had cracked for no apparent reason, which was so rare apparently, because of the encasement in cement. So they had to, of course, because the pipe was in cement and it was cracked, they had to come in and they had to, get into it and dig up some of the basement foundation. As they were doing that, they found a skeleton. And they found out that the skeleton was Aboriginal and it was female. And then the people found out that they built their land on an Aboriginal burial mound. They had a researcher come out to the house, and he was an expert in Aboriginal history and also archaeology. And he found out that the bones belonged to an Aboriginal woman who was in the upper hierarchy of her band. And he said she was like almost a princess. So he went and did more research into it and found out that her name was in fact Isabella. So, yeah, I know, I was going, what? Which
No
is
kidding.
an unusual name for an Aboriginal woman, but there might have been some Spanish influence, we don't know, or European influence for that name, but her name was Isabella. And so I said, well, that's pretty wild, because I said, so you had the woman who used to own the condo had come back because she loved living there and brought her clothes and some of her jewelry with her. And then here's this woman who had been an Aboriginal princess, and I think what had happened is she had some psychological condition or something happened to her, and she sort of had a diminished mind at that time. But anyway, here she is, angry that they'd in the past built a house up on top of her grave, so comes to their new condo and decides, I'm going to wreck their condo. And as she's wrecking the condo, the woman in red that used to live there is trying to fix everything up and trying to hold on to her. So it was like one of the weirdest cases that I had, because I actually got confirmation of, hearing this name and seeing this woman and, having them tell me that this story after I told them everything that I had found. So it was kind of one of those sort of aha moments where you're going, wow, that's really wild. And she said, and then in the end, the woman said, I don't know what to do with all this clothing. And I said, well, just you have to give it away. Because I said, she's crossed over now. She's not even using her clothing. But they can do that. They can give and take away things. So, I mean, I know there's the more popular thing is people having things going missing. So spirits will take something and you can't find it. I had a pair of glasses that went missing once for almost 2 years. And one day I went down the laundry room, and here were the damn glasses sitting on top of a pile of laundry. I mean, this was after 2 years. It's like, where did these glasses come from? I was so ticked off.
I wish that would happen to my bank account.
Well, yeah, don't you, hey? I mean, I wish they could, yeah, but no, I've never heard of anyone's bank account being populated by a spirit, so, but I was going to tell you really quick about, remember I told you about the portal and...
Yeah, the portals,
I was going to tell
sure.
people, okay, so when people are taking photographs and they take pictures of orbs, and a lot of people say, well, it's dust. Well, there's a difference between dust and orbs. Orbs have orbs around. They have a kind of an aura around them in the picture, and then inside there's a mass inside. And usually in the mass, sometimes you can see a face, but it almost looks like a molecular structure when you think about it. And that's how spirits actually get around, is this round orb-like thing. So I've seen them flying around with the naked eye, and I've also caught them on video, and I've gotten a lot of pictures of them. But I've noticed a lot of orbs that I would catch on film would have black spots in them, almost like holes. And I wondered what the hell that was. I finally watched got this video. It was... where is it? It's called, where is that darn thing? It's an orb. Oh, where did it go? I just had it here. It's another one of those things where you have something and then it's disappeared. Okay. It's a DVD. It's called Orbs, The Veil is Lifting. And you can get it on Amazon. I don't think Indigo Books has it, but you might be able to order through it. Anyway, in the video, it shows this man taking thousands of pictures every night outside of his house. And he noticed that as the night would get longer, the orbs would get less consistently white or colored solid, and they would get holes in them, almost Swiss cheese-like. And then he said, as they would come out, there'd be more and more of them out in the sky that he would catch. They would start to link together like Lego and form a round tunnel. And as I watched this, I had that aha moment where I'm going, oh my God, that's the portal that I see. And I realized that when these spirits cross over into the light, there's hundreds of thousands of other spirits making that portal for them to cross over into. So that just blew my mind when I saw that. It was like, holy crap. So now when I take pictures and I get orbs and I see these spots, I understand what it means. Is that eventually they're going to hook up with other spirits and help another spirit cross over. So if anyone has a chance to get it out of the library or order it from Amazon or wherever you can get it, watch it because it's fascinating. It really is. And I don't know, Mike, if you get a lot of orb photography done, but I know I've done experiments with moisture, condensation, dust, seeds, all kinds of stuff. And there's really nothing similar to an orb. So it's really funny when people say, oh, it looks like a bunch of dust in photographs. Well, maybe to somebody that, doesn't take a lot of photographs and gets orbs in them. But I know that if I'm somewhere and I'm at a gathering of people, or there's a family gathering, or a bunch of, people having a dinner or a party, and I take pictures, there's always orbs around, and it's always because they are relatives or friends who've passed, and they want to be a part of the party or celebration or birthday or whatever is going on. And so it just kind of, when I see that, it makes me feel really good. There was one night that I was sitting by myself in the living room, and I was having a really, really negative day. And I have this little infrared digital camera by Bell & Howell, and I don't think you can buy them anymore. And they have the infrared lights on the outside of the lens, and you can take a video with it too. And I remember sitting in the dark and just feeling sorry for myself and saying, oh my God. I said, am I all alone here? Is there anyone else here with me? And I turned on the video of it, and there were hundreds and hundreds of orbs in my living room, just everywhere. And I felt so loved and so good when I saw that. I thought, oh my God, we should all realize we're never alone. There's always somebody with us, no matter where we are or what we're doing. And I know a lot of people have problems dealing with loved ones that have died, and they thought maybe that they've died alone, and whether it's been an accident or a murder, or they've just been somewhere where they've passed and no one else has been with them. And I just want to tell people that they did not die alone, that they had spirits with them that were probably part of their family who'd passed, but also other spirits welcoming them into the other side. So just to allay people's fears about, when they're going through the grief process and feeling guilty about somebody, maybe dying alone in the hospital or something, they didn't die alone. They had somebody with them.
It's about the orbs. I do a blurb on it in my PowerPoint presentation that I'm doing at the Paracon in Washington this weekend. I agree. Sometimes orbs, you can kind of tell the difference between orbs and dust.
Yeah.
But that
do you
being
have faces
said,
in yours?
Do I have what? I've never seen the faces of mine.
Oh, no? I have animal faces and some human faces. And one guy I know that would take pictures of orbs. A lot of his orbs were in shapes of skulls.
But speaking of animals, because this is my question I've had for you, we have about 6 minutes left. It's a three-parter, okay? What's your thoughts on animals seeing spirits? And
oh, yeah.
Have you ever watched a dog or whatever, watch for the reactions when and if they do see a spirit? Because I'm going to be taking a couple pointers out with me into the field, and I'm going to be doing some experiments with night vision cameras with them to watch their reactions. A couple paranormal pointers.
Yeah. Yes, animals and children always see spirits. Majority of them. My cats always saw spirits. My one dog didn't, but my other dog, that was a husky, would come and stand in the doorway of our bedroom and look up at the wall and watch something going across the wall, and it wasn't a spider and it wasn't an animal. It was. I knew she was seeing something. So, I mean, some animals, they're like people. Like, some animals see them, and other animals just don't care, or it's not a big deal, or they just don't see them at all. But I would think the majority of dogs and cats and other animals see them. I know a huge amount of children see them. They don't have the blockades and the barriers that we do as adults that we put up. We try to rationalize everything. Children and animals don't try to rationalize.
What about your take on? What about your take on spirit animals? Reason I bring that up is because I got a couple really good Class A clips of actual pigs squealing. I was at a historic town walking. Actually, I was by myself at this point. I just had my audio recorder with me, walking around, talking, doing a light EVP session, and I went by the old butcher area. And I wasn't talking. I think I might have been Facebooking or just looking at the buildings. And when I did the audio playback, when I got home, I literally heard pigs squealing and oinking. I have that clip somewhere. I'm going to try and find it for both Paracoms for people to hear.
I think it's the first time we've had the word oinking used on this show. Thanks,
you
Mike.
like that? You're on the words.
That was very nice. Way to expand the vocabulary of our listeners there.
I like that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, I definitely I've seen a boa constrictor. I've seen pigs. I've seen dogs. Seen cats. I saw a jellyfish. God, what are the other animals that I've seen? Somebody apparently in Drumheller saw a dinosaur once years ago, and I'd love to see that. That'd be amazing.
That would be
amazing.
why
not?
That brings up a quick question, and we're going to have to wrap this up pretty quick here. But Alberta, especially south in the Drumheller area, is very well known for being an archaeological. There's the word. I can pronounce that, Bill Cardwell. Archaeological. All right. Gold mine for dinosaur bones. How come, we don't seem to have any dinosaur ghosts around?
We probably do. It's just how many people go in the middle of the night into the Badlands where the hoodoos are and walk around and camp out and try to see ghosts. Yeah. I mean, I've never done it. I've been to, the Badlands a lot, but I've never stayed overnight outside and just to see if I could see something.
Right.
I've always been there in the daytime, right?
Right.
And, if you spent maybe 3 or 4 days there with equipment or different things, who knows?
I bet. I'm curious.
Yeah.
I'm curious why it hasn't been done.
Me too.
My friend,
Me
it
too.
is time for us to say good night to you on Spaced Out Radio. Thank you so much for coming on, Rona, and I appreciate that. Let people know how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, you can go on our website at www.paranormalexplorers.com. We're also on Facebook under Paranormal Explorers. I'm on Facebook also under Paranormal Rona. I'm on Twitter under Paranormal Rona, and I think I do have an Instagram account of Paranormal Rona, but I don't have a lot of stuff up there right now. I am currently writing 2 books. One is Eerie Edmonton with Rhonda Parrish, and then the other one is basically about Ben and I and all of the spirits that I've seen and interacted with.
Very cool. Thank you, Rona, and thank you. I know Allison Yellowknee is listening tonight. Allison, we got to get you back on the show. Your story is way too incredible.
Yeah.
She is fantastic. Yeah. Mike Morin, we will see you this weekend at the Forest Moon Paracon, and then the following weekend at the Caribou Paracon. But your next appearance on this show will be on Wednesday, October 17th on Ghost of the Great White North. Thank you, bud. All right, see you this weekend, Michael Malkop. I get the final word. That's the beauty of having the mute button. Coming up next, we got the Encounter with Everett Thiemer, our news director.
This is the winter of our lives. We come to play the final scene. The curtains closing in the darkness we expose what lies beneath.
We are entering the encounter tonight with Everett Thiemer, our news director, intrepid reporter extraordinaire with the encounter, as the news is always changing. That's why we bring you the encounter with the weird, the strange, the WTF. Everett, president of Team Stump, right here with us tonight. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. It's been a busy night with the news. I don't know if you've caught it all or seen it all, but it's been a fun and interesting night.
It's been going crazy tonight. And you know what? When we were in the newsroom, we absolutely loved when this kind of night happened. Loved it. Because
it is fun.
In the newsroom, when we worked in the newsroom, the evening shift was always like, oh, really? We're just recycling a bunch of news that was been played for the last 8-9 hours? And then when you have something break, you get all giddy and excited, which seems to be happening tonight, President of Team Stump.
Oh, no, you are the president. You are the president. I resign. You are our fearless leader.
Oh, wow. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Very, very soon, we're going to be getting those Team Stump t-shirts for our audience to buy at spacedoutradio.com.
So what do you want to cover first?
You know,
I mean, you just sent me the one thing. I mean, I've been trying to contact some people with something we kind of have going on in the background that we're waiting to hear about. But what do you want to start with?
I'm going to give credit on Twitter to one of our power fans, Jeff Gear, otherwise known as the Desert Clam. Great goatee on him. Fantastic goatee. Anyways, he put a tweet out there at hashtag Spaced Out Radio from KTSM.com. And they are out of El Paso, Texas, that basically said, and this just came down moments ago, about the Sunspot Solar Observatory. Everybody's been wondering what the hell is going on there and why it was shut down and why local police were not called and so on and so forth. It's been a weird story, but apparently their source says a child pornography IP address from a computer was traced there and used at the observatory, and a source within the building observed a computer with not good images on it.
But, that sounds like an excuse wrapped up in gift wrap, because how does that explain the post office being shut down and evacuated, the situation in the town, the Black Hawk helicopter that was seen? There are so many things that doesn't explain.
I agree with you. And, let's face it, we have heard from numerous, and look, if there is some freaky pervert out there who likes things with horrific things about children being sodomized, I mean, that person has a one-way ticket to hell. Let's just be honest with that right off the bat. But we also know, if we put our tinfoil on, a lot of these government operations now, remember how back in the day there was that saying, you know, we don't kill people anymore after the Kennedy assassination?
No, killing's messy.
Exactly. And from what I had heard from people whom I've talked to in the tinfoil hat community, is that the new one, since they don't kill anybody anymore, is ruin people's lives with child pornography. Because no matter what, whether you're innocent or guilty, you still have that stigma attached, and you carry that like the scarlet letter forever.
Yeah, that you don't escape that. And that brings up a little bit of a side note, too. The gentleman that did the 3D printed gun plans that he published, it broke that he is being charged with some form of sexual assault or something along those lines. So it seems like there's a definite pattern, and I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist, but there is a definite pattern of people who potentially have something to say against the government and are quite public about it, having charges that can ruin them brought up quite often.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. And, you know, it's sickening that in today's society that this subject still comes up. You know, it's a disgusting subject. You know, I have a 5-year-old son, and I can tell you point blank, if somebody ever did something to him, I would go ballistic. I would absolutely go ballistic.
And I think that's a response.
Yeah. You know, I mean, we always, you always talk about those, you know, you can get a firearm on a black market like that. Yeah, I would find a way, because to me, that's worth going to jail. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But
you know, and I think any quality parent would agree with that. We hope it never comes to that. And, you know, it's sad that any child has to go through such disgusting behavior, especially as a child. But I mean, the fact is, it's scary, man, when you look at everything that's kind of going on.
It is, but, you know, in this case, I'm not sure that I completely buy this explanation yet. It just seems too convenient, and it doesn't explain other aspects of the situation.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the Black Hawk helicopters, what does that have to do with a computer that has some horrific images on it? What does what does that have to do with anything?
And what does shutting down the post office have to do with it?
Shutting down the post office, evacuating a community, the original rumor that there was a mercury leak.
You know, I can understand the FBI coming in, because that would be a standard response for something like this. But the way that they implied that there were FBI agents kind of patrolling and guarding the facility, once you have the computer in your possession, there would be no reason to really even remain there. You could simply take the computer or computers and take them back to a forensic computer lab and get anything you needed off of them. It just doesn't make sense to me to shut that down, evacuate the town, and all of that. And then how does this relate to all of those other cameras at other observatories that were being shut down?
I would agree. I would absolutely agree. It just doesn't make sense. It does not make sense.
I think it'll be interesting if a suspect or somebody is named in the next couple of days. Otherwise, you know, I don't know how much credibility I would give it, just because it does seem like such a convenient way to kind of wrap up all the loose ends.
Well, I can tell you this, the conspiracy theorists are going to go absolutely crazy about this. They really are. They're going to go crazy. They're going to go nuts, and they're going to try and figure out what the hell is truly going on with everything. And I can tell you point blank right now that this isn't going away. It's just adding to the entire conspiracy thing because, let's face it, it's an easy topic as discussed. And trust me, I hate saying those words. I do. I hate saying them. But it's an easy topic to get everybody to say, okay, that's it, it's over, because the words child and pornography put into a sentence or context just makes the majority of us, I would say 98% of the population, absolutely sick to our stomachs.
I'll put on my tinfoil hat here for a minute and say this. What if this is an attempt to kind of bring this back into the forefront of the news? And while we're all looking at this, what aren't we looking at? Because this whole thing, the more that comes out and the longer this goes on, the less any of it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I fully agree. I
mean, I've still seen no reasonable explanation for all the other cameras being shut down. And you know, so many people talk about solar storms, and even with that, you do the research, and at this point in time, you get a sort of a conflicting set of views, because while sure we could have a massive solar storm, at the same time, those run in cycles. And really, from what I understand, the sun is sort of at its low point in terms of solar storms.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, man. I fully agree with you. I don't think this story is done. I think conspiracy theorists out there are going to have a heyday with this. We're going to talk about it tomorrow night with Jamie Sexton on the Rebel Planet.
Excellent.
And we're going to see what he's found out about it, because I know he has been looking into this story as well, because from where he is, New Mexico isn't that far from Texas. So
no.
He's pretty darn close to that situation, and I know he's looking into it as well. So, nonetheless, let's move on to story number 2.
I don't know if you heard, but Elon Musk announced who the first private citizen is going to be that goes to the moon. And his name...
Let me guess. Hold on. I'm going to say it's either a millionaire or a billionaire.
You would be correct.
All right.
It's a Japanese...
Huh? Go ahead.
It's a Japanese billionaire named Yusaku Maezawa. And he is the founder of the Japanese online retailer ZozoTown. It's a fashion website. And he's always had this desire, and he lived in the U.S. for quite a while. And that's all fun and good. But in Elon Musk's statement, and let's face it, Musk likes to do things with a little bit of flair and pomp and mystery. But he made this statement basically outlining the purpose of SpaceX and how it was to further rocket technology and further our ability to advance to be spacefaring civilizations and move on from the planet. But one of the things that he said, and I'll read this directly, is this. So as far as we consider the fossil record and the history of civilization, it's important to bear in mind that there could be some natural event or man-made event that ends civilization as we know it, or life as we know it. So it is important we try to become a multi-planet civilization and extend beyond Earth, and do so as quickly as we can. Now, I'm pretty sure that's going to set off some tinfoil hat people.
Well, I mean, I listen to that, and I think Space Force, I think absolutely everything, all of these end of the world type mottos that people are kind of throwing left, right, and center. We're running out of food. We're running out of land. We're running out of absolutely everything. And, I'm probably not a good one to really talk about that, because I've never been anywhere in the world outside of, the west coast of North America and a couple times to the east. but I've never, been to Hong Kong where there's like 25 million people or whatever their population is. So I really don't know. But I mean, it is scary to think about that. But I mean, I think we all know if man's future is going to contend and survive, that we are a civilization that needs to expand. And once land is filled, we got to look elsewhere.
Definitely, we do. But sometimes Musk, he phrases things in a way to get the excitement going, get the attention going. But when you begin to talk about sending somebody to space and then bring in the possibility of natural or man-made disasters that could end life on this planet as we know it, that's a little bit, I can see that fueling the tinfoil hat theorist, because especially in a time when, or at a press conference where they're sort of celebrating, they've announced this Japanese billionaire as the first person who's going to go to the moon as a private citizen. And they went on to explain and discuss they call it the BFR, which is the big Falcon rocket, as they put it. But I think, when I hear BFR, my mind goes somewhere else.
I know where you're going with that.
So here they are kind of in the middle of this whole celebratory press conference. And then he brings up the idea of, well, if life ends here, because it could happen at any time, we got to be able to go somewhere else. To me, that's a little, I don't know, interesting or telling, or it fuels my conspiracies in my head a little bit.
Well, of course it does. As it should. I mean, Elon is a brilliant thinker, and I think, we look at these minds, when you think of Einstein or Stephen Hawking or people like that, their minds are always thinking, 50, 100, 200 years into the future. And I think that's what we have with Elon Musk. And, looking at the status of the planet with the wars, with the famine, we don't take care of ourselves. We bicker about everything. I would say, that we probably are on that spiral downward. And if we don't expand to a future, into space at some point over the next century, mankind could be in trouble here. Or I'm sorry, people kind should be in trouble here. Oh, by the way, speaking of people kind, there was a politician who got in trouble today in the House of Commons for saying fishermen.
I saw that.
Oh, we have to talk about this. So everybody knows the big rant about Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, and his people kind comment. Well, in the House of Commons, one of his members of Parliament used the term fisherman and quickly apologized to the Prime Minister in the House of Commons and changed it to fisher people.
That just doesn't even roll off the tongue.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. That's what we've come to as a society. Then you wonder why Elon Musk wants to get the hell off of this planet. Right there. Perfect example.
Well, to play devil's advocate for just a second, with the financial issues that Tesla and Musk have had, in the last 6 months or so, could this be a tactic of his to maybe stir up a little bit of fear, to stir up a little bit of interest in having some investors come in and, boost his bottom line a little bit?
Could be. Could very well be. I mean, the guy is brilliant. I'd love to, there's not many people on this planet I would love to sit down and have a conversation with. Elon Musk is one of the ones I would love to try and get. Not even on the show. I'd love to get him on the show, obviously. But, to sit down and have a beer or a doobie with the guy, it doesn't really matter. But even though I don't even smoke pot, but just the whole idea of sitting down with that brain for like an hour or two, that would be phenomenal.
If you could pick that brain for 2 hours, I'd be taking notes. I'd have so many questions.
Oh, you have to. You have to. I want to see him throw some money into Bigfoot. That's what I want to see. I don't know why.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day he will. We just never know. We got time for one more, my friend.
Staying on the space kind of aspects.
Fisher folks, by the way. Fisher folks, not Fisher people.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah, it's horrible. That's the state of Canadian politics right there. Fisher folks.
That's horrible.
It is terrible.
Anyway, the UK Space Agency has launched a satellite, and it is the first satellite that is designed to and test theories on removing space debris from space. And it was launched, and they ran a test. And essentially what this satellite does is it has a net that it can shoot out and capture objects the size of about a toaster. And then this net seals around it, and it's supposed to bring it back down to Earth to burn up in the atmosphere as it comes down.
That's kind of cool.
And this is the first test. I mean, there's a lot of junk up there.
Yeah.
They're estimating that there's 170 million pieces of debris just floating around. And they estimate that weighs some 7,000 tons by mass. I'm not sure if it's metric tons or imperial tons. I'm not even sure what the difference is, but it's a lot of weight.
You know what bugs me about this? I'll tell you. Because I got the microphone, so I can. We're worried about space. Okay, and yes, that is the next frontier. We have to take care of space and clean that up, which is great. What about our oceans and rivers? Have you ever seen some of those videos from other countries? It doesn't really happen here in North America, but where the current is flowing and all it is like a sea of garbage on top of the river?
Oh, yeah. I remember when the Chicago River was like that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
You didn't want to kayak in that. You didn't want to fish in that. You didn't even want to stick your finger in it.
I mean, I look at that and I just think, we always worry about what we don't need to worry about on this planet. Well, how about cleaning up that garbage dump the size of the state of Texas that's floating around the Pacific? What about that one?
I think at this point, though, we do need to worry about space debris because we do have so many satellites up there, and so much of what we do, even if you don't think about it, so much of what we do is reliant on satellites.
Oh, I get that. I think it's a good idea, but why do we always seem to put off everything else?
Well, because if you dump something in the ocean, it kind of goes under the water and you don't see it.
True. Except for the floating state of garbage Texas in the middle of the Pacific.
Somebody's going to claim that and make it a sovereign country.
You know what? Eventually, somebody's going to claim that and literally make billions off of that. Billions. Cleaning it up. You watch. Probably won't happen in our lifetime, but somebody will. They're going to figure it out. Let's get to the thought of the day, shall we? Clean up the water. That's what we need to do. Water's kind of an important thing for us, Ev.
It is. It is.
Very important. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter feed, and then we read your responses on the air. Why? Because we love getting the audience participation in. So tonight's Thought of the Dave is as follows. Do you believe there are still sea monsters out there? If so, which ones? How about that?
I like that.
Yeah. A little bit off topic from the show, but sea monsters. Because around here in British Columbia, we have a couple. There's the Cadborosaurus.
It wasn't there Yeah, wasn't there a recent sighting of Ogopogo?
Yeah, it's a pretty flaky video. I'm not going to say it's, I mean, it could be anything. It could be a sturgeon, or it could be a freshwater eel that's up on the water. It could be just a current or a log or something. I wasn't too convinced of that one, but the sightings happen.
Aren't they all just a little bit flaky videos?
There's a couple good ones. Where it's like, really, that one looks interesting. But here's some of the responses we got from our great audience. William says, yes, I feel that some species that may have gone extinct in reality may not have. Just an opinion. I have no evidence. Adnome, yeah, here it comes. Sea gnomes, because what would scare Dave more than land gnomes? Sea gnomes. Really, Adnome? Went there, eh? Mary says the Nessie types are still out there. Gregory, there are some really big creatures that could pass as monsters, such as octopus, sharks, rays, and such. But as far as creatures like the Loch Ness Monster, nah. Angie says, I think in the deep trenches, they are hiding. I think so too, Angie.
I think that's possible.
All right, Susan, I think there could be all kinds of fish or other animals living in places where the water is very deep and unexplored. Evan, whom I used to work in radio with, can you define sea monster? Oh, I could name a couple of people who we used to work with, Ev. But I'll keep that. Let's see. Kevin says definitely some undiscovered giants at the bottom. That would be kind of cool. Says there is a video out there of some giant unknown tracks discovered by a robotic sea explorer. Scientists are unsure of what it is. Tessa, who hosts the weekends here, you know her. Lovely Tessa Nicole Thomas. The giant squid and Megalodon. See, I'm going on the Megalodon one. I still think there's a couple of them roaming around. Just enough to keep a small population going. Because, I mean, they'd have no predator. They're the apex.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah. John states, with only 5% of the world's deep oceans even having been explored, yes, I believe there are creatures out there that we don't even know about. For the experts to say any sea creature's extinct blows me away. How do they know? They declared the coelacanth. I always get that word trouble. Coelacanth?
I don't know. Big words are hard for me.
Yeah. Extinct, only to be proven wrong. They also declared the megamouth shark extinct. Once again, they were proven wrong. I honestly believe Megalodon could still be out there somewhere in the depths. Me too, man. Me too. Let's go over to Twitter here. The Yeti guy says, as with all sea monsters, the truth is out there. Loch Ness, Champ, I believe. Yes, they exist. WGAFA on Twitter. Undiscovered monster lurks beneath the deep blue. Things nightmares are made of. My mother, for one. Ouch. Ending it on one of those. Oh, and by the way, the crypto guru jumped in on this. And he says, my latest book is on sea monsters. And yes, my first interview for that will be on Spaced Out Radio. Oh, I can't wait for the guru to talk about that in the fall.
That's going to be fun.
Everett, where can people find The Encounter?
People can find The Encounter under the news tab on spacedoutradio.com, or they can check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/SOR The Encounter online.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Thiemer. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Also, want to say a big thank you to Mike Morin and Rona Anderson for coming in for Ghosts of the Great White North. We do it on the third Wednesday of every month. Great show tonight. Thank you so much for tuning us on in for that one. Tomorrow night on the program, Jamie Sexton from the Rebel Planet. Coelacanth. Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Retired Skeptic. Coelacanth. Thank you. Not coelacanth. What the hell was I thinking? That's what happens when I read. Oh, I got to stop that reading thing. Exactly. English is hard. But nonetheless, Jamie Sexton tomorrow night, we're going to get into some alternative news going on. And don't forget, we got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. September 28th through 30th, the first annual Caribou Paracon. Tickets are on sale right now. Go to questers.ca. That's questers.ca. This event brought to you by Spaced Out Radio and the Canadian Society of Questers. We want to see you there. Thank you to everybody participating in this show in the chat rooms on Rev Radio, Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio, Spreaker, and Uncle Dale, and Billy Cardwell leading the SOR Space Travelers Club on Facebook. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow night, because together, my friends, we own the night. I'll talk to you in 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night.